XPath is the language used for locating nodes in XML documents. HTML is derived from XML families, so you can use XPath for HTML documents as well. One of the main reasons why we go for XPath is when you can't find suitable ID or name attribute for an element, then you should go for XPath. There are a number of XPath strategies. We'll go through them. First one is XPath absolute. XPath absolute is nothing but it's using the complete XPath from the root HTML tag to the specific element. It's using the whole element tag path. If you see the example, you can see HTML, body, div to div, and up to the input tag. It's using the complete path. This is not recommended to use. If the location is changed or if the element is under some other parent, then it's going to break. Going to the next one, which is XPath attributes. It's always good and recommended to use XPath attributes. XPath attributes is nothing but we are still focused on that element and we are trying to use other attributes to match. For example, if you have id equal to passwd and there is also another element coming before this element with id equal to passwd, then for the second element you cannot use id equal to passwd. Then along with the id you look for other attributes of the element. If there is a placeholder with password, you can combine these two. You can say I'm looking for an element with id passwd, along with that placeholder is password. That's what the example here. It says we are looking for an input with id equal to passwd and placeholder equal to password. You can look at the syntax. That's the syntax. It's 2 forward slashes, then HTML tag, then attribute 1 equal to value 1, and so on. You can give a number of attributes. There are some special cases. You can use some special XPath functions. They are contains and starts with. If you have some part of ID or name as constant and rest is changing, then you can use XPath functions contains or starts with based on your scenarios and your application. You can see the examples here. In the first example, we are looking for a element where ID contains user. The other parts of the ID may be prefix or postfix. They can be changing, but it always contains the word user. In the second example, we are looking for an element where name starts with word pass. After pass, it can be changing or some dynamic words, but it always starts with pass. These are really useful when you have ID or names, or even you can use other attributes as well, like value or placeholders. When they are not constants and some parts are changing, you can concentrate on the static part and you can use contains or starts with, and you can specify conditions based on them and try to match to the elements. Let's see how XPath absolute, XPath attributes, contains and starts with, how they work. I'm on SlideShare login page. I'm going to refresh this page. Now let's inspect username field. This is the input tag representing username field. If I right click and click on copy XPath, it's going to give me absolute XPath. Let me paste that here. You can see here it's starting from HTML tag, then body, div, and up to the input tag. It's the complete XPath from the HTML root to the specific element. Actually, we need to give one more forward slash to make it work. If I click on find, you can see it's matching to the username field. Anyhow, XPath absolute, it's not recommended to use. If the position changes or the parent changes, it's going to break. Let's look at XPath attributes. I'm going to field set tag and click on edit. I'm giving more spacing so that we can just see username and password fields. Okay, we have it ready. The first one is username field and the second one is password field. If I say ID equal to user password and click on find, it's going to match password field. You can see it's matching. I'm changing username field so that its ID is user password. Now if I try with strategy ID equal to user password, it's going to match username field because that's the first occurrence. In this case, how do you recognize or how do you identify password field? We cannot use ID equal to user password. We can use name, but I'm going to delete the name for now. Now we cannot use ID because there is already a first occurrence and it's going to match to that one. In this case, XPath attributes is really useful and best to use. With XPath attributes, we will be still using that element and its attributes and try to build the locating strategy. We can say that its ID is user password. Along with that, we can look at other attributes like type, placeholder, class, and we can say its ID equal to user password and placeholder equal to password. Look for a element like that. Let's write the XPath. I'm writing 2 forward slashes, then input, then brackets. I'm saying at ID equal to user password. We need to give that in quotes. Then I'm saying and placeholder. Let's take placeholder and placeholder. We need to give at symbol. Be careful. Placeholder equal to the value, its password. We need to give that in single quotes. In single quotes, password. Let me double check. 2 forward slashes, input tag, ID equal to user password and placeholder equal to password within brackets. It looks good. If I click on find, you can see it's matching to the password field. This is how, let me maximize here. This is how we use XPath attributes. XPath attribute is really great. If the location changes or the parent changes, there won't be any problems because the strategy is based on the attributes of the element, so it's always going to match. Now we will be looking at contains and starts with XPath functions. Let me change the ID here. For example, say ID is some changing words and then user ID and then again some changing words. Let me delete underscore password. This is the ID for the username field, and let me change the name. I'm adding few characters at the end. Let's say they are dynamic and they are going to change. We are assuming that for ID attribute, user ID is going to be static. Whatever prefix and postfix digits, they are going to change. And for name, user login is going to be static, and whatever letters after that, they are going to change. In this case, what do you do? In this case, it's really good to use XPath contains or XPath starts with. I'm going to new step. I'm saying let's use contains with ID. I'm saying input tag and within brackets I'm saying contains, and we are looking for ID, so at ID, and it's going to always contain user ID. Now if I click on find, You can see it's matching to username field. This is really useful if you have some part of the element changing. Now let's look at starts with. Here in the name we have last 3 digits always changing, so I can say input within brackets starts with, and it's at name, and it always starts with user login. Let me copy that and now click on find. You can see it's matching to username. These two functions are really helpful when you have dynamic ID or name. They are not just limited to name or ID. You can also use other attributes like placeholder, class. Let's look at XPath relative now. XPath relative is really useful and best to locate table cells. If you go to a table web element and look at cells, most of the cases you will not be able to find any attributes. It will be very hard for web developers to give any attributes to all cells. In this case, we use XPath relative, and we'll go to the parent and find a unique parent, and from there build the relative XPath. You can see the example here. In the example here, we are saying go to a table with ID, it's Selenium course page chapter table. Go to the table, from there we have built the relative XPath. Go to table body, third row and second cell. This is how XPath relative works. It is trying to find a unique parent. Just go to top level and from there build the path to the specific element. The next one is XPath position. It is not recommended to use. This is based on the position. You can see the example here. We are saying in the whole web page, go to the fourth div tag and go to the first anchor tag. If the location changes, then it's going to break. Let's see how these work. I need to find a table first. Let's go to AB Soft Training's website. I have got a table there. We are on home page now. Let's go to Selenium training page. Let me scroll down. You can see here we have a table. This is the chapter table. Let's say that we want to inspect this element and we want to write a locating strategy for this element. Right click and say inspect with Firebug. You can see that it's a cell tag. There is a table tag. Let me maximize. There is a table tag, and in that table it's third row and second cell. This is the cell we want to locate. If you see here, there is no ID or there is no name or other attributes. For cells, it's going to be really hard for web developers to give any attributes. It's just going to be TD like that. In this case, how to identify this element, how to write locating strategy, we use XPath relative. What we are going to do here is, I want to build locating strategy for this element, but there are no attributes. Go to its parent, there are no attributes. Again, go to its parent, no attributes. Again, go to its parent, and this parent, which is table tag, has a ID, which is Selenium course page chapter table, and we can uniquely identify this element. What I can do here is, from that parent I can build my locating strategy. From that parent I can build XPath relative locating strategy. Let me right click and perform some action using Selenium IDE. Let's go for asset text. Let me delete this, and if you see here, that's what Selenium IDE has done. If you look at target drop down, That's the XPath ID relative locating strategy. It's saying that it's looking for a table with ID Selenium course page chapter table. From there, table body, third row and second cell, and it has got value to verify. If I click on find, you can see it's matching, and if I run asset text, you can see it's passing. This is how it works with XPath relative. With XPath relative, if you cannot build with that element, we'll go up to its parents up to a level from where you can uniquely build the XPath. Now let's look at XPath position. If you see the drop down, you can see there is another XPath, which is XPath position. It is nothing but it's saying in the whole web page, get me third row and second cell. If I click on find, it is still finding. If I run that one, it's passing. This is XPath position. It's just using the position, and this is not recommended to use. If the position changes, it's going to break. So far, we have seen different XPath locating strategies. Hope this is going to be really helpful to you.